What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a real quick conversation over the tools that you're going to be needing on the job site. Now, these are not an extensive list by any means, but these are tools that you will be using on multiple job sites across the spectrum. So, getting into it, the first thing you're going to be needing is a tape measure. Now, you can get a 25-foot tape measure if you want to. However, for most of what you're going to be doing, a 16-foot tape is going to be just fine. And because it's lighter, more compact, it weighs less on you throughout the day. Now, brands I recommend, FatMax and Milwaukee, perfectly good options, but honestly, anything will work. The next thing is knives. Now, you're going to want a knife to be able to cut things open, slice things down. I highly recommend getting a razor knife instead of a pocket knife. Unless you're the kind of guy who wants to sharpen your blade every single night when you get home, having a replaceable blade system is great. Also, you really want the button switch method for your blade swap. The next thing on the list is a speed square. Now, if you can get a speed square that has these little notches in it for marking out certain points, that is a bonus, but it's not required. A simple speed square is going to help square off lines so that you can cut with a skill saw what you need to, finding angles on things. Regardless of what you're using it for, I'm telling you right now, you're going to be using a speed square off and on more than one job site. The next tool we're going to be looking at is hammers. Now, in my opinion, I go for a metal-necked hammer. A metal-necked, smooth-faced, straight-clawed hammer is one of the best ways to go, in my opinion, because you can run trim with that kind of hammer, you can run framing with that kind of hammer, you can even beat on metal with that kind of hammer. Now, you get the fancy ones with the waffle heads or the stud rippers. That's also cool. That's you. But for me, for you, especially just starting out, you don't need anything fancy. Straightforward. The next thing we're going to be looking at are pliers. Now, you're going to need two types of pliers. You're going to need a needle nose type of pliers, something to grab into small spaces or twist nails around, break things off. You're also going to want a more traditional sense of plier, something that can grab onto like water lines or saw bolt changers, anything like that. So if you need to change the saw blade on your skill saw, you've got a wrench in your bag that you can grab real quick and pop that off. Next thing you're going to be looking at, two types of bars. Cat's paw is the one on the right. It's used mainly for pulling nails. However, it does work as a pry bar in most cases. The one on the left is a fine pry bar. A fine pry bar is used for finding separation between doors or propping a window up just a little bit so that you can get a little bit of clearance there. I highly recommend both of these tools when you're starting out. They will become invaluable as you're moving through different job sites across the spectrum. Now, the next thing you're going to need is a screwdriver and a multi-screwdriver. So we're talking 6-in-1, 11-in-1, something like that. And if you can get it with a bit holder on the end so that you can partner it with a bit box, this would be even better because you'll be able to swap through multiple things, especially when we're doing remodels. You're going to be running into square heads, Phillips heads, flat heads, and T25s all within the same spectrum of room. So having the ability to switch your bits out instead of go grab another screwdriver is very nice. Torpedo level. Now, this is not as important, but it is definitely needed. Now, important note to be made. 9 inches, 8 inches, that's about as short as you want to go with a torpedo level. Any shorter and you start to lose its value. You can see this one on the right here is very small. It loses its ability as a level to level anything long. We are not metal workers, so our material is never perfectly flat. Inevitably, you're going to want something a little longer to get a little more accurate reading. Now, pencil and a pen. You're going to need both of these. A carpenter's pencil is important because it will mark up on rough surfaces. You're talking bricks and concrete as well as rough woods. A carpenter's pencil is going to be able to get through that and then resharpened very quickly after it's done making its mark. The pen, however, is also valuable because when you're marking on spaces where you do not want the mark to be able to wipe off immediately, this pen comes in handy. Now, I personally use this pen for a notebook. So when I'm taking measurements down for trim or making measurements for window sizes or things like that of that nature, I use a notebook, a small notebook of some type. You can use a spiral notebook, whatever you want to, something that you can write down notes, materials, tool lists, anything like that, something where it makes you more efficient, it makes you faster, and it helps you forget less. The less we forget, the less time we waste. So, highly recommend a notebook of some type with a pen that you can keep on your person for that kind of stuff. Now, this is a multi-mark measuring tool. It is not required for most job sites. However, when it comes in handy, it is a lifesaver. I use this for making measurements that are under 1 inch. With a tape measure, it is hard to get measurements correct under 1 inch. This tool allows me to do that. I use this for setting the guard on my table saw, on miter saws. I use it for marking around trim on doors and windows. Now, if you're doing that kind of work, carpentry work, I highly recommend picking up one of these. And that's most of it, guys. So, there are other tools that you will be needing for specific job sites. I'm thinking like metal snips or large wrenches, but these tools will span the gap of most of what you'll be needing on a semi-daily basis. These are the tools that you're going to become annoying if you're borrowing them constantly from other people every day, all the time. So, if you grab anything up from Menards or Lowe's or even Walmart, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to want to grab. Thanks, and have a good day.